You're listening to 15 Minutes, where we feature community leaders sharing what the rest of us should know but likely don't. Hi, Chad Franzen here, one of the hosts of Share Your Voice, where we talk with top-notch law firms and lawyers about what it takes to grow a successful law practice. This episode is brought to you by Gladiator Law Marketing, delivering tailor-made services to help you accomplish your objectives and maximize your growth potential. To have a successful marketing campaign and make sure you're getting the best ROI, your firm needs to have a better website and better content. Gladiator Law Marketing uses artificial intelligence, machine learning, and decades of experience to outperform the competition. To learn more, go to gladiatorlawmarketing.com, where you can schedule a free marketing consultation. James Hansen is co-founder and CEO of Genesis Legal Group. He is one of the first non-lawyer law firm owners in Arizona and the U.S. after building a $10 million law firm in less than 3 years, doing 90% family law and 10% criminal. A veteran entrepreneur with a gift for hiring the right people and helping them meet their goals, James received his education in the trenches of building small businesses from a young age, driven by his entrepreneurial spirit, instilled in the third of 12 children in a family where he learned to create his own opportunities. Hey, James, thanks so much for joining me today. How are you?
Happy to be here. I'm doing great.
Hey, tell me about your entrepreneurial spirit that you grew up as one of 12 kids. What was your first entrepreneurial endeavor that you remember?
Paper routes. Started in paper routes at a really young age, 8 years old. Me and my older brother, the third of 12. So me and my older brother got some paper routes. We delivered the Arizona Republic, which is the major newspaper here in Arizona, the Phoenix Valley. So I grew up about an hour away, small town in outside of Phoenix. So that was where I first learned to that the better of work, the quality of my work depended on how much I was able to collect, because we had in the early days, we actually had to get collect the money for the subscriptions for the newspaper and also the tips that you got. So at an early age, I learned that it's not just how quickly you can get things done, how efficiently, but trying to figure out what people want, clients want, and deliver on that.
Wow, you did that at 8 years old. Was that a morning route?
It was, yeah. It was a morning route on my bicycle. Started out on my bicycle, 8 years old, obviously. And it was interesting because the Sunday papers back then were like huge. And so we had these bags that would go over our front handlebars and the front and back, and we'd max them out because we'd have to make another trip home to refill. And so sometimes you hit a hill and you go flying over the handlebars, and I have dents in my shins from the chain falling off my bike. As I'm pedaling, the chain falls off and your shin hits the pedal and it makes a dent in your shin and you're bleeding. So I have those great life lessons that as a kid I hated it. Right, as a kid I hated the fact that I had to work. My dad's mom, my paternal grandmother, her second husband owned a small farm and planting cotton. And so at a young age, I started chopping cotton, as it's called, where you walk through the cotton fields chopping weeds in the summer times. And so there would be me and my cousins walking up and down the cotton fields at a young age, and then like the next field over, there's a bunch of migrant workers chopping the weeds in the cotton fields. And so I had some great lessons, some great teaching at a young age of how to work. Hated it though in the moment, but looking back on it, those experiences have shaped my life. And I'm is like you mentioned in your intro, I'm a community college dropout. I don't really have a lot of formal education, but my education is in the trenches of learning how to work with people and how to get alignment with people and to achieve great things together.
So at 8 years old, that's what, about like second grade? I'm guessing there weren't that many other second graders with jobs. You must have been rolling in it compared to your classmates.
Yeah, I was. But I didn't. My parents were great. Like I got a certain amount of money to spend,
Mm.
and the rest went to savings. And so I remember at a young age, like on a Saturday morning, riding my bike down to the gas station and buying a candy bar or something, or using a Coke machine and buying a cherry Coke. And because those things, we didn't have those things in my house growing up. We didn't have treats. We didn't have a lot of things that I wanted. And so I found that I was able to get what I wanted in life by working, and I could either stay at home and work for my mom and dad around the house in the yard, or I can go work for someone else and make money and have the money to spend the way, not all the way because my parents managed a lot of that money, but they did give me some spending money to see the fruits of my labor for sure.
So let's go through kind of your journey from, leaving community college to starting Genesis Legal Group. What were some of your experiences kind of in that in between period?
Yeah. So when I was 19, I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and I served a mission for my church, a 2-year proselyting mission in Brazil. And I paid my own way for that. So I saved up my money for that. And when I got home, um, the first job I had was at a bank. And so I worked at a bank and I was able to, I learned how to talk to people and learn how to really understand what they wanted to add value to their lives. And I did that for about 2.5 years before I got fired. And I got fired because I was too busy talking to people and wasn't able to balance my drawer. So I worked at one of those branches that was inside of a grocery store. So in those branches, you're a personal banker and you're a teller. And so I worked in a part of town which was very big for, this is during the housing boom. So we had a ton of Hispanic workers that would come in and cash checks. And that was when banks first started charging a check cashing fee, where you get the thumbprint on the check and you charge a check cashing fee. And so I felt bad that I had all these Hispanic people coming through. And because of my experience serving a church mission in Brazil, I spoke Portuguese. And so I was able to learn, Portuguese and Spanish are very similar. So I could speak enough Spanish so that they would understand me. And I would open up checking accounts for them because it was cheaper to have a checking account than to pay the $5 check cashing fee 4 to 5 times a month. So and then I would do, home equity loans, and I wasn't really focusing on balancing my drawers. So after being over like $1,000 2 times in a month, they fired me, which was the best thing that ever happened to me because it got me out of that industry. And then I started doing insurance. I started selling auto home insurance and did that for 2.5 years. And I opened my own agency. I grew that to about 16 agents. I sold that. And the primary reason I sold that because I wanted to learn leadership and I wanted to learn how to lead a big team effectively. And the gentleman who approached me to purchase my insurance agency had some really, really good leadership qualities that I wanted to instill in myself. So I sold that. I ran all the sales and marketing for that company for about 2.5, 3 years. And then I started another insurance agency again. Now at this time, the catalyst really for me getting into the legal space was in 2007. My insurance agency was one of 5, I think 4 or 5 insurance agencies to pilot selling the Hartford AARP auto and home product in Arizona. Arizona was the first state that they allowed local agents to sell that product because it's AARP. They were huge. They were big into the brand and who could sell that. And so the Hartford approached me and said, "Hey, we want you to sell our brand locally." And so I had to go through some training, and my guys had to go through some training to get that brand. And I had like one of my insurance agents' wife did my website. This is 2007. So part of the compliance, I had to have that put on my website. So I had her put that we now sold AARP through the Hartford policies. And like I kid you not, like 2-3 weeks later, 1 week, 3 people walked in my door, like the front door, and they're like, "Hey, we want to quote through the Hartford ARP." And I was so confused because at this point I'm buying leads. Like I'm buying leads, I'm having my guys calling the leads, I'm calling the leads, we're working these leads. And people walked in my door wanting a quote. Like this has never happened to me. I've been doing this for a long time. And so I inquired, like, how do you find me? Oh, we Googled it. What do you mean you Googled it? Yeah, we put in Google AARP agents Arizona and you came up. And so we came down here. I was like, what? Like, how does this happen? And so that led me into digital marketing, SEO. And I'm like, oh, I control what the search engines say. And so at that point, I really started focusing on digital marketing and focused on how that can be impactful for insurance agencies and businesses in general. And when I sold my insurance agency, I had a really good friend of mine who was a lawyer approach me, and he had a business partner, and the business partner was the rainmaker. He went and got the cases, and then my friend, they're actually both my friends. My current business partner now, he worked the cases. So he had one rainmaking, generating the revenue, generating the cases, and one working the cases. Well, the rainmaker passed away in a car accident. And so my now business partner, Kevin, approached me and he said, "Hey, I know you're doing this website, this internet marketing thing." We didn't call it internet marketing at the time. And he said, "Is this something you can help me with?" And I'm like, "Sure, I'll give it a try. But you have to figure out what niche you want to focus on, because I can't just do." At the time, he's doing whatever type of case he can get.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Well, I want to do PI." And I said, "Well, everybody wants to do PI, but let's pick something else." So he's like, "Well, I don't know. What do you think?" And I had done some keyword research to figure out that family law wasn't very competitive online, and we could really focus with a short period of time and generate some new cases. And so I built a family law website for him. Boy, 14 years ago, and after 3 4 months, I look at how it's ranking on Google, and it's like killing it. It's getting all this traffic. It's like ranking one for the top keyword for divorce in the second largest city in Arizona. And so I approach him and I say, "Hey, Kevin, like you should be killing it. Like you should be getting a lot of consultations coming in, calling." And he's like, "I don't know what you're talking about. Like I'm struggling, dude." And I'm like, "What? This doesn't make any sense." So I swapped out the number on the website to be that went just forwarded to his phone system in his office to be a tracking phone number.
Mm-hmm.
And I started tracking and listening to the calls, and he's just not answering the phone because it's him, one attorney, and a part-time receptionist, legal assistant at the front desk, and they're just not answering the phone when these leads came in. So we changed some things around, and that kind of led to the trajectory of his firm growing and getting more stable there. And so that's kind of what led me into getting involved in law firms, because it's generating the lead, then it's converting that consult into a paying client, and then it's the whole client life cycle with, okay, we got to get reviews to keep helping with the new business coming in. And so we started doing coaching, and we started working together to help that.
Wow,
It's a
very
long story.
interesting.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. That's amazing. So yeah, you just kind of learned. You just kind of learned from everything that you did. What? So tell me about how kind of the official Genesis Legal Group came about.
Yeah, for sure. So so my current business partner, Kevin, he had grown his firm to him and another associate, which was his brother-in-law. And they had one paralegal and one legal assistant slash receptionist. So it was four people in the office. Um, One day in mid 2021, the brother-in-law says, "Hey, Kevin, listed my house yesterday. We've got two offers on it, and we're moving to Missouri. We're out of here. We're out of the state." And Kevin's just like, okay. He calls me on the phone, and he's just freaking out because he needs his billables to keep the expenses going. And he doesn't know it. Like he literally calls me panicking. He doesn't even call his wife, the sister of the brother-in-law who's quitting. He calls me, and this is 2021, mid 21, and so the ABS, the alternative business structure, had been out for about a year and a half, and I just was like, "Dude, this is the best thing, because like you're a great attorney and I'm great at building businesses. Let's get an ABS and let's move forward." And so we did that in mid 21. We started working together, got the ABS. That took a while, from application through the committee and getting the actual license for that. That took about a year, and then and we continue to operate, making a transition from that law firm into Genesis until August of 23. So last year, August, we officially changed the branding, and we started doing criminal defense.
So how? So what's kind of your role then? Obviously, you scale the business, you do all the marketing, things like that.
Yeah, so my partner Kevin, he practices. So a really interesting story. This may kind of help give some context as to what we both do. Is and when we first became partners, our first two hires were like I knew we could just dial up the leads and we could get consults. Like we could get that's not a problem. We just needed attorneys to work the consults, to work the new clients. And so we hired, we're starting this new business, and the thought is, okay, let's hire some new attorneys because they're cheap, right? And so we hired two new female attorneys, great people, awesome, love and respect these two attorneys. After 9 months or so, they both quit, and they had full caseloads. And they're like, "Hey, family law is not for us. We can't handle the stress." It was their first job, first job out of law school, first job.
Hmm.
And so they were completely naive as to what it was to practice law.
Hmm.
So 9 months later, they quit. They both had full caseloads, and one quit, and like 2, 3 weeks later, the other one quit. And my partner Kevin, he now he's the only attorney in the office, so he's taking these cases, and these attorneys are going to different practice areas. They're not even practicing family law, so the majority of these cases they want to stay with us. And he's getting piled on all these cases, and I'm just sitting back thinking, I've been growing at working in the business while he works as an attorney, work the cases. And at that point, I'm just like, you want to know what lesson learned here is we need to hire experienced attorneys. It's going to cost more money, which I don't necessarily like, but it should be better because they can bill at a higher rate. We can give them the cases. We don't have to coach or train them how to practice really. And so at that point, we just started. I had a pipeline already of potential candidates, but at that point, I really started digging down into paying them more than I was willing to pay because I knew that was going to help us generate, do better case management and convert these consults into paid clients.
How long did it take before the hurdle of paying more than maybe you were comfortable with became not such a hurdle anymore?
It wasn't really a hurdle in the sense of like because I learned the lesson like
Mm-hmm.
new attorneys just aren't what we're looking for because if you don't have lead abundance, if you don't have the ability to give a lot of potential client or if you don't have the ability to generate a lot of consults, then yeah, it makes sense to go slow. To hire someone new, you can train them. But we could literally load these new attorneys up from the get. After 2, 3 months, they're completely full. They have 60, 50, 40 to 60 cases. And it was just more like once I learned that lesson, it wasn't a hurdle. It was just a matter of, okay, I'm not going to be it's going to take me a little bit longer to
Mm.
actually make this profitable. Because again, it takes 3, 4 months to fill up an attorney and then they're full, but then you have to bill on the cases. So there's about a 6 month lag from the time you hire someone before they're profitable. So yeah, it's just more of a mindset. Once I learned the lesson, it was just this is what we have to do. This is the path.
So it sounds like building a client base has not been really a problem. What kind of things do you do to attract and acquire those clients?
A lot. It's really a what I focus on is the client experience from the beginning and we have systems in place to monitor the client experience because ultimately the only way that we're going to be able to continue to grow is by having great client experience. And then when we have a great client experience, how can we monetize that client experience for additional new clients? So how can we get them to write an online review consistently? How can we get them to do video testimonials so that we can use that in our marketing messages? So it's about creating the organic traffic through SEO. It's about creating the ads, the ads, the LSA ads, the Google ads. But you have to be able to convert that traffic. You have to be able to convert those impressions into people actually calling you. And right now it's to the point where we filter out a lot. So we filter out a ton of the potential clients that call in because especially in family law, there's a lot of people who want free legal advice. And we're so busy that not that we don't want to help everyone out. It's just we can't from a profitability perspective. And so we create some barriers of entry to do a consultation. There's some hurdles that potential clients have to jump through before they get a consultation scheduled, which ultimately makes us more perceived and legitimately more valuable.
Yeah, hitting that $10 million revenue milestone in under 3 years is pretty remarkable. Were there any kind of pivotal moments or growth catalysts that accelerated things?
We've been really fortunate, really, really fortunate where we've just been able to hire good people. And like we've messed like we haven't been 100% at that. We've learned, but hiring good people who have alignment with our core values and knowing where we're going, casting the vision with them of here's what we're doing and here's why we do it and here's the goal. Um, I think that's something that as you're growing a small business or law firm in the beginning, that's something that a lot of law firm owners don't take the time to do. in terms of what is our avatar employee. And so I think probably maybe to answer that your question is the pivotal moment for me that's helped been the catalyst was the thought of everything that I've been doing to generate new clients, to attract new clients. I have to do the same thing to attract new team members,
Hmm.
right? So I need to create video testimonials of our current clients for potential new video testimonials of current employees,
Mhm.
team members, for potential new team members. And doing those things sets us apart. So we've had just so many people. Like I don't even have a job ad open right now, and we have people calling us. I mean, we have a potential bringing on someone. Hopefully, should hear from him this morning if he accepts our offer. But I mean, it's additional $1 million in revenue bringing this one attorney on to the practice, to the
So,
firm.
so would you say kind of developing those core values is the key to cultivating the right culture?
Yeah, it's definitely important. Building out your core values, spending some intentional thought and time to develop those, and then it's how do we implement that? How do we implement that into the day to day things that everybody does into the culture? But then it's also having difficult conversations with people, and this is the one thing that I think a lot of business owners and especially law firm owners they don't have the difficult conversations with team members when they need to. If they're not meeting performance, so it's building out the culture, building out the core values, building out our ideal avatar client and our ideal avatar employee team member. But it's also baking in what is the expectation, what is the commitment, and then it's holding them accountable. If they don't reach that commitment, what's the accountability? And a lot of people don't want to hold them accountable because it's a difficult conversation. Like, what am I going to do? Am I really going to fire this person? Does it really make sense for me to have this conversation if I'm not willing to fire them? And it's not so black and white. And so those are a lot of the things that really have led to that is the culture. The culture is super important. And for example, we had a team event. We do quarterly recognition events. And then so we spend about we have lunch in the office, we have it catered, everybody comes in, and we have about 54 team members right now. And everybody came into the office, they ate lunch, and then we had a presentation. The presentation was very inspirational. It's almost like you're going to a motivational speaker with some awards, quarterly awards. And then everybody went to Top Golf. And I was talking with some of the team members at Top Golf, some attorney paralegal that found us, came to us in early March, and they said, "You want to know what, James? Uh, we hit the jackpot coming here. Like this is so awesome. We are so thankful that we went down this." And then one of them was like, "Hey, this I was totally expecting something different than what this event was." And I thought, "Well, what were you expecting?" And she said, "Well, I was expecting like a boring meeting that you see from bigger firms. Like, here's what you have to do, here's the policies and procedures." And we didn't even talk about that. It's about focusing on the individual and helping each one of our team members get better in their personal lives because they bring that to work. If if the team members come to work on Monday the same that they left on Friday, they're not improving their personal life. They're not going to improve their professional life as well. And so that's in our culture. It's not just growth from a firm perspective, but also personal growth. They need to be experiencing personal growth and the satisfaction and joy that comes from personal growth because they bring that to work. So that's the culture that we are building, trying to build the vision of the culture.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Just a couple more questions for you. So, as I mentioned, you're one of the first non-lawyer law firm owners in Arizona and in the US, certainly the first one that I've spoken to. What are some of the challenges kind of being like the leader of a crew of attorneys when you're not an attorney?
Again, for us, we're super transparent about that
Hmm.
in the interview process.
Hmm.
And the type of attorneys that we hire are just great people. So for me, it really hasn't been a challenge. Now, my business partner Kevin handles a lot of the legal services and the
Hmm.
application of legal services.
Hmm.
So I don't get involved in that at a micro basis. At a macro, I do. So to be honest, it hasn't been a challenge at all. It's been awesome.
Great. I have one more question for you, but first, tell me how people can find out more about Genesis Legal Group.
Yeah, best way to go about it is genesislegalgroup.com. We have a ton of YouTube videos. We have a ton of our social content is we're working on that, but it's the basic content you'd probably see from a normal law firm. So it's not too engaging, but we have a lot of content on YouTube and our website. And what I love doing is helping people grow. And so if there's any law firm owners who are struggling with how to grow their firm, I love to spend some time with them to maybe get them to refocus on what they can do differently.
Yeah, I was going to ask you as my last question here. For maybe either an entrepreneur who just, maybe a serial entrepreneur who just likes to open businesses and see what they can do, or for a lawyer who isn't a experienced business owner, what kind of advice could you give to one of those people in terms of opening a firm that they would never learn either in law school or, through owning other businesses?
Um, Take some time to figure out why you want to do that. Um, I just read a book called The Motive. I forget the author, Patrick. Last name starts with an L. But the book really is everything that I've, not everything, but a lot of what has been on my mind recently is understanding your motive of why you want to do something is so important. Is your motive for starting a law firm and growing a law firm so that you can rest and relax and not have to do things? Or is your motive that you can serve more people? And understanding your motive really is going to help figure out the steps that you need to take in the future. And I think a lot of people, and listen, myself including, I still have 3 other businesses that I run. I've helped start a mortgage brokerage and another insurance agency, a digital marketing agency. I'm not really involved in those right now, but understanding why you want to do those. Is it so that you can get a dopamine hit for your ego? Is it so you can have that on your LinkedIn profile? Or is it because you genuinely want to help people and you think that you can? Because the decisions that you're going to have to make later on as you grow your firm or you grow your business, those all are going to filter back to the reason why you chose to do what you chose to do. And what I was saying earlier is like, I've been there, man. Like I have 5 kids. My wife doesn't work. I've been there where I've been fired before. And it's like, man, I got to hustle. Like I got to hustle like I did in my paper route days, like in my days in high school. Like I went 3 days without sleeping because I was working so much in my year after high school. And so I get that. I get you have to provide, and I get that. But try to take the time, and whether that's with yourself in the mirror, with a spouse, with someone that you love, or that loves you, have an open mind and be open for feedback. And maybe it's with a coach. I think people don't take the time to have a professional coach in their life. Um, but take the time to try to really figure out why you want to do what you say that you want to do, whether that's growing your firm, whether that's doing whatever, but also in addition to understanding why, but like you have to be the example. Like if you're going to hire people, you have to be the example for them. They have to want to be like you. Like I realized that, like I got to the point where I was about 300 pounds, and I realized that I don't like myself. My kids don't listen to me, and maybe it's because I don't listen to myself too. Like I'm saying I'm going to do these things, I'm going to change my life, but I never do them. And your team is going to see that. You're going to hire people, and they're going to see that what you say isn't aligned with your actions, and then you don't get the respect. And you want to be the leader because you're the leader, and you want to be respect. You want them to respect you. But if you don't respect and listen to yourself, and those aren't proven in your actions every day, like what you're doing when in the dark when no one's watching is important, and you have to understand that. So you have to be fully committed, and it's easier to be fully committed when you know why you want to do what you say you're going to do.
Okay, awesome. Wow, great advice. Hey, James, it's been great to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time and all of your stories and your insights. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, Chad.
So long, everybody. Thanks for listening to 15 Minutes. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.